Welcome to Power Up, the podcast that uncovers the unique challenges women leaders face today. Join your hosts, Nat and Kristen, as we dive into the tough topics and provide actionable insights you can apply right now. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes.
Welcome. I hope everyone listened last week where we announced our new membership network, which was a pretty exciting pre-announcement, internal announcement.
Absolutely.
You're our team. You got to hear it first. And this week, what we thought we were talking about, what to talk about this week. And in our 9 power sessions we did, which was our pilot, we learnt some incredible things and got some incredible insights from women leaders about the challenges that are top of mind. And we've sort of been very blatantly stealing from them for months now to write newsletter content and think about podcasts. We thought what we'd do over the next few weeks is actually tackle each of the most common challenges. Do you want to announce our first one?
I will, but I first want to talk about our philosophy and how we came to these.
Please do.
Yeah, we have a couple really strong philosophies, and one is that small actions can break any big barrier, any big habit. So you take anything big, be it a goal or a challenge, and then break it down to the smallest thing.
We really honed this mindset when we were back at Hatch at an investing platform. And if you tried to talk to a bunch of women, we did this a lot about investing, total glazing over, not a chance, too big, too scary, never going to be involved. So we worked to what was the smallest molehill we could create out of that mountain. And that might be reading one article or signing up to a 10-day, 10-minute a day getting started course, or putting $20 into an account and trying something. And by breaking it down into that, what we actually found was, even though it felt like the smallest, most inconsequential action you could take, it led to the next action, which led to the next action, which is kind of counter to how often we tackle big problems. We think we need big solutions, and we spend so much time almost in decision paralysis trying to figure out what to do that we never actually take action on them.
Well, you know what we do? We break the seal.
We break the seal.
Someone said that the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, we do that. And
I mean, but that's terrible, because breaking the seal is usually like when you have...
Stop it. It's opening a bottle of yogurt.
I was like, it's when you need to keep going to the toilet.
It's when you're jumping on the trampoline after having babies.
We break the seal.
Anyway, no, you're probably right. However, our Powrsuiters knew they had to take a step in their respective challenges, but they just needed help with that first step. And so that really is what today is about. We were going to break down the first theme and go over it, and then we're going to talk about some of the solutions they came up with as a group. We're going to go back and forth.
Blatantly stealing again.
Yes. And then we're going to give an example of an action as it relates to that solution. And hopefully you resonate with some of them.
Amazing. And can I say, I do joke about blatantly stealing, but this is the power of networks, right? When you are surrounded by a group of women who have their own perspectives and experiences and ideas, the amount of different solutions you can come up with is exponential.
Yeah.
And this is what we hope to continue with. I've banned the word hope. I listened to myself on a podcast the other day, and I'm like, hopefully, hopefully, no more hope. This is what we're going to achieve with the next iteration of Powrsuit, with the membership network, that you are going to be in with thousands of other women coming up with solutions and first steps and sharing your experiences with those first steps and iterating and improving on them. So this is sort of a very soft intro to that today.
The first theme that was common across all of our power sessions, that is 133 women that we've taken through this incredible month-long program, was the big feelings that hold us back. This is this idea that we need to get out of our own way. And all of these labels that we're owning, all of these feelings that we're having, are putting us into a mode of paralysis. So these are things like, I'm not confident, self-doubt, fear, I don't back myself. How do I quieten the critical voice? How do I back my own decisions? How am I confident in difficult situations? How do I stop comparing myself? And how do I regulate emotions? This was a challenge that was identified by easily 100 of our 133 women.
Yeah, and isn't that even in itself such a nice solution, and that you're not alone, that this is a feeling that is so common, it's almost ubiquitous in any leadership community. Of course, you're making big, hard decisions. You are challenging yourself and out of your comfort zone a lot of the time, of course you're not going to feel confident. However, that when it happens and it becomes a pattern of feeling like that and you label yourself as that, we've talked about this before, it can end up grinding you to a halt and stopping you from taking awesome opportunities and putting yourself forward for really, really cool things. So it is worth trying to think about the smallest steps we can do to break that cycle.
So Nat, we have a huge list of solutions that you think we're stealing. I think we're just borrowing and sharing.
I think we're amplifying. I've rebranded, amplifying.
I love it. We're amplifying. There's a ton of them here, but you're going to pick one and share it with our audience and then talk about what an action might be from that solution.
Okay, I'm going to start with role-playing situations because it's something that I've done before. If I'm going into a situation where I feel very nervous, so it might be getting up on stage, doing a speech, or it might be negotiating something, I role-play it. So that would mean I actually get them to one other person to be the stand-in for the audience or for the other side of the conversation and go through it a couple of times beforehand. And you always find that the way they react is quite different to what you thought they'd react. You learn something over time, depending on how big and scary it is. You could try it with a few people. By the time you go into the situation, you're like, oh, great. I know that there's multiple ways this could go. I've honed it a bit. I'm feeling a lot better about it. Mm-hmm. So the smallest action there is to actually ask someone to take 5 minutes so that you can role play it with them. Ask a trusted person. It could be a friend, it could be a coworker, and lock in 5. Well, probably you want to put 15 minutes in your calendar to explain what it is, but just say, I'm going to run you through this thing and I'd like your feedback.
I had a coaching session this morning with someone from our Power Session, and she is having a meeting with a senior stakeholder tomorrow and pitching a new role to this person. And that would be a perfect action between now and then for her to do, is just get on the phone with a friend and say, can I just run through what I'm going to say to this person tomorrow as an opener? I love that.
It's so underutilized, and we do it all on our own, and we're so critical of ourselves, and you just need to ask one person to just get a totally different view on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So easy, so easy.
Okay, my first solution that I am going to amplify to combat those big feelings that hold us back is celebrate yourself. And this is specifically, what did I achieve this week? Did you know? Well, this is because this is a common one that everyone grabbed onto, because what this is basically collecting facts that shows how much you're actually doing in a week or a given day or whatever time period that you want to reflect back on, because it's the lies that we tell ourselves that we're not moving the needle, or we're not contributing, or we're not a key person of the team, and all of this kind of stuff. And this is the practice of actually disproving those erroneous, thoughts that we have about ourselves. So the way this breaks down into an action is our Powrsuiters usually would pick Friday afternoon at the end of a week, and they would block 20 minutes. And they would literally just do it then and there. Block 20 minutes in their calendars every Friday. Repeating meeting. And when the reminder comes up for that meeting, in that 20 minutes, you're going back over your week and you're simply just jotting down or reflecting on the things that you achieved that week. It could be anything from having a hard conversation to learning something new to trying out something different. And they would simply just collect and go, oh my goodness, I actually did a lot this week and I'm going to celebrate. So we call those weekly wins at Powrsuit, and we celebrate them every Friday. Nat, you and I do it. We text each other, and then we share our weekly wins, and then we ask others to share as well, which is just a fabulous way to celebrate ourselves.
I think that's lovely. And it also means when it comes to performance review time, or when you actually need to share a story of success or do your elevator pitch, you've got this database to draw from without having to go, oh goodness, I can't remember anything. So I think it's like double whammy there. This one's my favorite. Separate feelings from doing. They're two separate things. So you can feel really underconfident or feel really nervous about something. That doesn't mean you should stop doing that thing. And this was a real light bulb for me in that, and I hear it all the time, oh, I could never do that. I'm too scared, or I'm too shy, or what, very limiting beliefs from people, where it's like, you can be all those things. That has no relation to your ability to do it. And I've tried to really embrace that as if I think something is a thing that aligns with my values or my goals, and we've talked about this a bit with public speaking, very nervous of it, didn't feel like I was very good at it, felt like I was going to spew every time before I did it. I separated that out from saying yes. And once you force yourself to say yes, you're stuck now. You have to do it.
Yes.
So I try and do that now with a whole range of things that I feel really nervous about, is to just say yes and know that I'm going to feel those feelings. And that's okay. Like, feel them, cool. But that shouldn't stop you saying yes. And so the tiny action out of that is, next time you get asked or presented an opportunity, you feel that feeling in your gut of, oh no, this is scary, all those limiting beliefs that come spewing out of your critical voice, say yes, and then deal with those thoughts and fears.
Yeah, and that's, I think, Richard Branson from Virgin. He said the same thing. He's got a quote that's going around that says, say yes and figure out the rest after.
It's so true. And you build up that resilience, right? You start showing yourself you can actually do it each time because you're forced to.
Yeah. Good one. Another common one I'm going to pick is to ask trusted people what your strengths are. It could be colleagues, it could be clients, it could be friends. You can send an email. Hey, I would love for you to tell me a strength or a few strengths that you've noticed in me. And you will be shocked at how easy this is for someone. Because just think of someone doing it to you. Think of one of your closest friends writing you and saying, can you remind me of my strengths? You would have no problems sharing back an email saying, you're incredible at this. I love that you do this. You are in your element when you're doing this. And I guarantee you, people will reply and you will feel incredible. You will feel validated that actually, again, you are important and contributing member to the society, to the workplace, to your friend group, to your family. And this was something, again, people said, this is my weekly action. I'm going to send a couple emails and then you just get to sit and enjoy the praise coming in.
And it's so nice, isn't it? We both were part of the Power Thruples in our final power session. And there was something very overwhelming about someone telling you how good you were at something. And we don't get it very often. So it's really lovely to practice that. My next one is get really curious. And this is sort of flipping it on its head. But these limiting beliefs and these critical things that we say about ourselves do come from somewhere. And it's often something that's happened way back in childhood, or I always use quotation marks around feedback here, but a piece of very critical feedback you've been given that isn't feedback at all. It's a real character assassination, potentially. Someone's told you you're not smart enough or not loud enough or not confident enough. And that has then embedded itself into your psyche in a way that you now accept it as truth. So we really encourage people to for this action, get out a piece of paper and spend 5 minutes when that voice comes into your head and tells you you're scared or that you can't do something. Spend 5 minutes really thinking and jotting down, where did this come from? How does it show up in my life? Why does it appear in those moments? And it's quite confronting. We often hear that it's quite confronting because we actually try and banish those thoughts from our mind a lot without actually dealing with them. So sitting down and forcing yourself to really focus on it can be quite a emotional experience, but you might find when you get to the bottom of it that it's come from something that was nothing to do with you and that is now no longer even relevant in your life, and that might give you the power to let that one go and move away from it and get into a more comfortable zone with whatever the thing is that's worrying you.
And I'm going to link our power tool in the resources, which is an exercise that can guide you through doing just this.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I will make sure I do that. But that was a powerful exercise that we did as part of the Power Sessions. My next one is to get out and socialize. And I promise you, this is the last thing that you will feel like doing when you're doubting yourself, when you're feeling a bit blue, when you're just feeling yuck about yourself and your confidence levels feel at all-time lows. I know the last thing you want to do is go out and socialize. But to Nat's point about saying yes and figuring it out later, when you're presented with an opportunity to have a coffee with someone, a drink after work, go to an event, go to a dinner, if it's a networking thing and you think this is the last thing, just do it. Just say yes. So the smallest action is the next time you're presented with an opportunity to connect with other humans, do it.
I like it. Or proactively do it. Just line up a coffee with someone if you're not in a situation where that comes across all the time.
Yep.
You get those offers all the time.
That's a good one as well, because there is nothing like connecting with another human and realizing we're kind of all trying to get through. On the outside, we kind of look like we have it all together, but really that connection, you realize that, oh my gosh, we're all kind of a bit messy. It can really help with how you're feeling about yourself. And if everyone is like, things are amazing and incredible, they're probably lying. So maybe that's the wrong circle. Go and find someone else. But that's one of the biggest breakthroughs as part of our power sessions is people, if for some reason we've separated ourselves to the extent that we think we have to navigate all of this on our own and we should have it all figured out, and then we isolate ourselves, and just by getting these women in a room, they're like, oh my goodness, I am not alone. So get out and socialize. Just do it.
Vulnerability is now one of my most favorite traits in other people, when they can relate to what you're saying and share, even if it's how they got through it or that they're still there. I am yet to find someone who insists on pretending it's never happened to them. So it's a pretty easy one to do. The next one from me is rephrasing negative talk. I'm a huge fan of the power of positive thinking, even though I struggle with it sometimes, and on growth mindsets, this idea that we are not stuck where we are. And the other way I've heard it being spoken about, which I really, really like as well, of we speak to ourselves very differently than we speak to our friends. So if you find yourself telling yourself something that you would never say to a friend, you should probably not say it to yourself. Like if I'm hearing my critical voice saying to me, you're so stupid, or you're too loud, or you're so klutzy and dumb, or whatever it is, it says it all the time, all those things. If I would never say that to a friend that I loved, I should not say it to myself. So there are very easy ways to reframe some of those phrases. And often it's just adding yet at the end. So I'm not smart enough. You can change that to I haven't learnt this yet. Or I'm not fit enough. I am working on my fitness. It's just rephrasing those things into something that puts you in the driver's seat and lets you see it as a thing that's in your control rather than a thing that you are, is a really, really easy psychological trick that you're starting to talk to yourself in this way that's a little bit kinder to yourself, and that does actually flow through to how you feel about yourself. It's very, very powerful.
The brain is complex and
it is
powerful.
Little mushy grey stuff is quite complicated.
Okay, we have 2 left, and I think I'm going to do a big one and then a slightly smaller one. And a big one is that it is slightly more involved, but I think it is super, super powerful if you have big feelings that are holding you back, and that is forming a peer group. Now, I'm going to put our podcast and how to do this again in the resources to make it simple, but a peer group is usually a group of 6 to 8 others that you can relate to. So we happen to form peer groups that are other women that are at similar career or life stages as you. It's something we highly recommend. We do it with the Powrsessions. We've also done it in our own lives, where we've gone out and we've kind of handpicked someone and said, invite someone along. And before you know it, you have 6 people that have said yes to meeting you somewhere. It could be hosted at your house. It could be at a cafe or a restaurant. And you're just saying, do you want to just get together for 1 to 2 hours and talk about work and talk about our careers or talk about our challenges and goals? And you will be amazed how many people want to do that, because again, they're navigating a number of these challenges in their careers on their own. So we've gone out and done it. We've collected, I think, Nat, you've done 3 peer sessions, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I've done 2. I've got my next one tomorrow night. And again, it's just inviting women in. We get a bottle of wine, couple bottles of wine, and we just go around and talk about, anyone have any big challenges we can tackle as a group tonight? Or do we just want to spend 15 minutes on each person going around and giving a bit of an update as it relates to how we're going with work, and using the group to, I suppose, come up with different ideas about how we might navigate a certain situation. So super powerful and a little bit more involved, because the first step is probably just reaching out to 2 people as a starter, where you might go, I think they would be really great to talk to about work and to invite over or out to go. And then you might say to those 2 people, bring a friend each. And before you know it, you have a peer group. But that's the first action, is to shoulder tap a couple people.
Or just join our membership network and you will have an entire community of people around you, and we will start to do some really clever, cool stuff with grouping people to talk about this stuff.
True that.
I don't know what you mean by the last one. So I'm going to go for the one that I think is the last one, because we've actually got a massive list in front of us. Ignore your weaknesses. So I think we've been talking a lot at the moment about, well, this podcast about do it anyway, even if you're afraid. And it really struck me every power session so far, this concept of we all bring a unique mix of skills to the table that makes us uniquely valuable, but it doesn't make us all the same. So one of the big things, we talk a lot about public speaking. There is an element in that it's useful as a leader to be able to communicate in front of a group. That does not mean all of us are cut out for speaking on a stage in front of 1,000 people and loving it. And that is okay. If your leadership strengths are in really deep thinking and coaching and bringing people together, nothing in that says that you also have to be an incredible public speaker. So the thing I love about this one is you should really be focusing on your strengths and just aim to be mediocre at your weaknesses. So if you really, really, really hate something like public speaking and you don't feel like you're very good at it at all and you have no desire to become a lot better at it, then do the minimum amount of work required to be mediocre at it so you can stand in front of a team and communicate clearly, and then let it go. You do not need to be an expert at everything. In fact, it is your unique set of skills that makes you so extraordinary. So focus on those.
Yeah, so good. Great. Well, my final one is actually therapy. and it's not the easiest, but I think the action is an easy one. And that is book an appointment with your doctor or research cognitive behavioral therapy in whatever city you're at. And up will come an industry website of therapists, and you can go through what they specialize in, who they work with, if they're taking on clients or not, and you can go ahead and write them an email. I know it because I've done that. We've talked about how complex our brains are, and sometimes rewiring our brains, we need a little bit extra help, and we need someone to take us through a bunch of exercises that will actually help us do that and stop that negative talk that is literally stopping us in our tracks. So go ahead and Google therapy if none of these things are really resonating with you and you literally feel stuck and down.
And another really simple action there would be, a lot of workplaces have EAP programs. Yes. I don't know what the global programs are, where you actually have a right to get access to therapy for a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling very unmotivated or that it's big and scary, firstly, everyone does therapy, and if they don't, they should. So whether or not it's a long-term thing or just a one-off for something you need a hand with, the most amazing people around you have all done it. Like it's just very normal. It's not something we talk about. So banish any fears of that from your head. And then secondly, just take that first really simple action to find someone.
We would love to hear if you try any of these actions out, if one really resonated with you over another, because I'm pretty sure that 90% of the people listening will have some sort of big feeling that they're grappling with. And we are encouraging you to get out of your own way. This is something that you can control. So hopefully that was helpful. And give us 5 stars if so.
Even if not, give us 5 stars. The best action you can take to feel more confident is to give us 5 stars. It's to help us be more confident. Yeah. Do we need more confidence?
We do. Of course we do. Anyway, stay in touch. Check out our new membership network. You can find that at powrsuit.com. And we will catch you next time with another big theme that women are uniquely feeling and we want to overcome. So catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.